Men, I have a question for you. What do you bring to the table? Yeah.
Well, that's always a fun question. Although I'm not exactly sure why some women seem to view it as a gotcha moment.
You want to ask girls all the time, well, what do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? Because I'm sure as fuck we all bring a lot more to the table than you do.
If by we they mean women in general bring more to the table than men, then generally women shouldn't have a problem answering that question then, should they?
The amount of men I've dealt with this last year, I fucking hate men.
I'm shocked to hear that. Really? They seem so open-minded.
I love arguing with men. I love it so much. It's my favorite pastime because they're all so stupid. The more men I have to deal with, I'm just like, oh my god, you're a fucking idiot. You're a princess.
This'll be fun.
Like, you want to be interviewed. You want us to ask the questions. You don't want to do any work. You want us to travel to see. You want us to pay for things. Anything fucking else, princess? Do you need one of my tampons out of my purse too? Like, oh my god, you're fucking annoying.
Who else noticed? It happens quite often, but I don't think they actually picked up on what they were doing. See, a lot of individuals, especially those that don't like men, when they try to make men look bad, they attribute characteristics that are stereotypically applied to women to men to make them look unintelligent and weak. So what does that really say about their opinion about women?
If a woman acts like a child, then she's dating a man.
Let's try phrasing that a little bit more accurately and see if it still sounds good. So if a woman acts in an infantile, immature, not completely cognitively developed manner, then that means that the guy she's dating should be complimented as being a man.
If she acts like a mom, then she's dating a child.
If she's acting in a way that's responsible, loving, and possibly caretaking, then that should be taken as an insult to the guy that she's with.
And if she acts like a man, then she's dating a fucking loser.
So if they're acting confident, self-assured, independent, and most of all, responsible, that naturally means that the person they're dating is a loser. Right. Sometimes I really don't think that a lot of women think these things through because, quite frankly, it makes women look really bad when they say stuff like this.
There is no bigger turnoff than being around a man who thinks he's doing you a favor by being around you.
Let's make that statement more correct. There should be no bigger turnoff than being around a person that makes you feel like they're doing you a favor by being around them. Remember, unless both individuals are benefiting mutually from the relationship, then it's not a relationship.
What separates me as a misandrist from feminists is that my hot take is that you cannot cheat on men.
This has to be rage bait, right? No one could be that truly special.
It's not possible. Like, that doesn't exist. Cheating on men does not exist.
A person is probably wondering, how exactly does someone come to that conclusion?
Men cheat women out of joy and opportunity every single day of their lives, like it's their job. They are conditioned from birth, and they have been conditioned for generations, like centuries and centuries, millennia. So there's no such thing as cheating on men.
What's really terrifying is that I believe they actually believe what they're saying. And what's even scarier is there are some that actually agree with these statements.
Say you're in a hetero relationship with a male, you can do whatever you want. It's not called cheating. It's not called cheating. You are barely even leveling the playing field. You are just fine.
And some women actually have the audacity to wonder where the phrase originated, 100 women versus accountability.
I want you to feel zero guilt because men aren't even capable of feeling guilt for like a shred of the shit that they do to us.
After making statements like that, now who would ever dare question their credibility?
So yeah, hot take it or leave it. Don't care. It's the truth.
The truth? Oh dear. What wonderful and dangerous times some individuals live in when they actually consider their own uninformed opinions to be the same as the truth.
If you go to a man with a simple problem and he doesn't fix it, understand he hates you.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. That has to be one of the biggest, most convoluted stretches in logic that I have ever actually heard. And to think that there are some women that actually want to be taken seriously when they say stuff like this. But, to their credit, at least they use the word hate correctly.
And any man who hates you will kill you.
Just imagine the type of internal conflict that a person that would have this particular type of mindset would have. Because first of all, they would actually have to think of new and interesting ways every single day to try to manipulate men who they obviously despise into getting them to do exactly what they want while trying to put on a facade for everyone else around that they are actually strong and independent, yet still insist that men do everything for them, including solve their problems. It would be absolutely exhausting. When is it okay to stereotype people? I keep seeing it being done over and over again, so some individuals out there must think that it's perfectly acceptable to do, at least to some groups of people. So I wonder, when does the actions of some members of a group of people then justify applying it to the entire group? I wonder, is there like a specific number of people that it has to apply to in order for the entire group to be guilty of it? It's a very interesting subject matter, because there are certain groups of people that absolutely no one is allowed to stereotype because that's considered wrong. But yet there are others where it's done almost on a daily basis. So I ask, when is it okay to stereotype and judge an entire group of people based on the actions of some members of that group? I am really looking forward to hearing the answers to this, because I think it would be most educational for everyone. It is all men. Except, of course, that it is not. And a person could say, using that exact same logic, that it is also all women. But of course, not only would that upset a lot of women that did nothing wrong, but that would also be factually incorrect. So why do some individuals, despite the fact that those statements have been proven to be not factual, illogical, and a person could even go so far as to say absolutely irrational, will not only try to convince others that they are relatively intelligent, but also still try to perpetuate the idea that it is possible for an entire group of people to be guilty of the actions of some members of that group? In any other context, say based on skin color, that would be considered racist. So why aren't those individuals that are claiming that it's all men or all women being called out as being sexist? Because at the end of the day, they are just displaying another level of bigotry.
I'm gonna make this clear for everyone.
Oh, goody. Another woman talking about the supposed male loneliness epidemic and how bad it really is.
Male loneliness epidemic. Hi.
Is it really? Then why aren't more men talking about it? If it was as bad as a lot of women seem to think that it is, then a person would imagine that it would be brought up more by men. But it's not.
Female loneliness epidemic. 0. Why?
Yes, why? Because from what I have seen, that really isn't what's actually going on.
You make us feel lonely. We don't feel lonely alone.
Now, that's not entirely true. Now, is it? If it was, then there wouldn't be so many women asking the question of where do they find a good man. But there are a lot of lonely individuals out there, both men as well as women. But from what I have seen, a lot of men handle being single a lot better than some women do. So I think some women have actually tried to convince themselves that men are just as miserable as some of them are.
I personally don't think that modern women really know how much people dislike them. They probably feel like they're everybody's cup of tea. They probably feel like, oh yeah, I'm doing everything right. I'm the best person ever. And that's not the case 80 to 90% of the time.
The reason that men think that you like them if you're nice to them is because they can't fathom being nice to somebody they don't like.
I have a hot take too, and I don't think that a lot of individuals are going to like it, especially if you agreed with the drivel that was just uttered. I'm feeling a little spicy today, so let's have some fun. So, there is a very common belief, because I have heard that particular idea uttered numerous times. There does seem to be a lack of originality out there on social media. Some just keep repeating the same things over and over again as if somehow doing so will make it true. But that is not exactly how truth works, but I digress. So, if you actually believe that most men are going to automatically think that a woman likes him just because she is kind to him, because naturally, in your opinion, you seem to think that men would never be kind to someone that they don't like? Well, obviously, you have not encountered a great many men in this world, especially those that have manners. Because manners do seem to be almost going extinct among a lot of individuals. But the average man that has the average amount of manners is going to also be kind to someone that they don't necessarily know, because that is called just being considerate. And a lot of women don't take this into consideration because they themselves lack manners. Just a friendly reminder, I am not, nor have I ever been, on Facebook. And I have seen and been told of numerous Lady J accounts out there and fan of Lady J accounts, some of which are posting some rather interesting content to include AI pictures of me, which is odd, as well as political content. Rest assured, I did not create or post any of that content, although they do tend to use a lot of my content that they get from either TikTok or Instagram. But I did not create these, so if you are following any of those, basically you're following a fan account or an impersonator account. Bear that in mind. Also do bear in mind that I will never send you unsolicited DMs. I will never ask you for money in any way, shape, or form. I will not send you unsolicited messages on different apps or request that you follow me on different apps so that we can converse. I am not on Telegram. I am not on WhatsApp. I am not on Signal. I will not be conversing with anyone off of this app. I hope that is understood. But most importantly, if you get an unsolicited message from an account pretending to be Lady J, or one that has my picture, I don't have private accounts set up so that I can talk to individuals. I absolutely do not. I have 2 accounts on TikTok, 1 on Instagram, 1 on Lemonade, which I very rarely post on, and a YouTube account. Any other accounts would be considered fake. So please don't be fooled by following them or responding to any messages of them. Please unfollow them or block them.
PSA for every man that's crippled by rejection. Don't forget.
If rejection was so hot, then women would be into it. But most women have never actually approached a guy, so they have no idea what rejection is actually all about.
Literally stopped approaching women because they're afraid to get rejected. They're afraid to be called creepy. Fill the blank.
I would be more than pleased to fill in the blank, especially for some women that aren't quite ready to admit it. But a lot of men just don't want to approach women because it's not worth their time, and they're happier being alone by themselves and happily single than they are being entangled with some of the women that are available out there. But some women don't like hearing that.
And when we act out of fear, we create the reality we're most fearful of. So reminder to just shoot your shot, put yourself out there, and know that rejection is literally never personal. It's actually how to have the courage and confidence to go after what you want in life.
Well, guys, there you have it. More mixed messages, because there are still a lot of women out there that are telling men to leave them alone. But yet there's some women out there that want men to approach them. Yeah, but sorry, ladies, a lot of the guys simply don't want to.
That's right. If it was so hot, they'd be into it, but they ain't. And a lot of these modern women never will be. Oh, I would, but it just ain't for me. Okay, well, all right then. Since it ain't for you, figure out what is for you and play your part as a woman and figure out how to properly get the man to come over and talk to you. How to properly get the man to approach you. But that would require some critical thought. What is it about me that a man would like? What is it about me that would make a man want to come over here? Oh, wait a minute, nothing. I just want him to come over.
Oh, I wish I could get a seat. A girl like me, I wish I could get a seat. My legs are killing, you know.
Then maybe, just maybe, someone should have planned a little bit better so that they could actually arrive in a reasonable period of time so that they would have access to a seat. What a thought. There are a lot of women out there that say that they want to be treated as equals. They want equality, except for when the time comes to actually be treated as an equal with a man. A woman is not entitled to a seat. The person who gets there first is the one that gets it.
Men will literally be like, I'm fighting battles no one knows about. The whole time it's just gay thoughts.
And believe it or not, even after seeing that, there are still some out there that wonder why the majority of men genuinely choose not to share their thoughts and their innermost, deepest feelings with another person, especially
with a woman. Because contrary to what many out there might be thinking, it is usually not men that would make that sort of a joke or downplay a man's mental health or their possible inner turmoils. They are more apt oftentimes to listen to another man if he's going through a struggle. But the ones that are most likely to make a joke are the ones that have been called the most empathetic of the two genders. And that would fall to some women out there. Because, in my opinion, some women frankly don't see other men as people. They don't even see them as human beings. And that is unfortunate.
If your boyfriend complains about doing normal boyfriend tasks, it's a huge red flag, and you should know now.
Oh dear. Now, believe it or not, there are actually still quite a large number of women that genuinely believe in stereotypical gender roles. However, I must point out that this usually only applies to when they're in a relationship, and more pointedly, it only applies to the men. They believe that if they're in a relationship with a man, that the man should be performing all the stereotypical chores that would fall to a gentleman, such as taking out the trash, building things, lifting heavy objects, and taking care of the car. Yet many of these women, because they mistakenly call themselves feminists, mostly because they don't understand the definition of the term, would be very upset if someone insinuated that they should be performing stereotypical women's tasks, such as cooking and cleaning. So why is gender roles okay in one situation, but yet not in another?
Guys don't want girlfriends. They want mothers.
What types of guys are these women dating? It's really beginning to seem like all of the women that make statements like this are all dating the exact same type of guy and assuming the rest of the male population is the same.
They don't want you to be their partner. They want you to be their mommy.
Wouldn't it be nice if some of these women develop better taste than men? Because just a friendly reminder, you ladies are the ones choosing these men.
They want you to cook for them, clean up after them, babysit their emotions, help them grow up and mature. His homeboy will literally tell you, I really hope you can make him more mature.
And yet they hear that and they still decide to date him.
That is not our job. I don't need you sucking the life out of me. I got shit to do. And as a matter of fact, because you want all this from me, I need a personal assistant. So girls, get him to have your morning brew ready at 6 a.m. Okay? Get him to take you places. Get him to drop you off and pick you up and everything.
Let's take a note here. Some of these ladies are expecting the immature, irresponsible men that they have chosen to date to start acting in a responsible manner just because they're in a relationship. Yeah, okay, the delusion is real.
You should be carrying my Chanel. You should be taking off my ballet flats for me. My socks better be in the wash. These men, these boys, they want to request everything from us. And they want to split the check now on top of it. Please. Girls, no more compromising, no more free labor, no more babysitting, no more mothering. Get yourself a personal assistant.
I have an even better idea. Instead of dating the same types of guys over and over again that don't treat you very well, how about some ladies out there raise their standards? Of course, then they would have to stop complaining.
Women are always told to choose better men, like it's their problem, the men are bad.
How about taking that dreaded first step towards some personal accountability and realize that a lot of women, in fact, do need to choose better? Because a lot of times, some women tend to choose the same types of men that have the same bad characteristics over and over again and decide that it's all men that share those characteristics.
The men are never told to be better men.
Has someone not been paying attention? Because there are multitudes of individuals out there telling men every single day that they need to be better. But I guess someone must have missed that.
It's much easier for a man to choose to be better than a woman to choose better. Because a lot of these men are wolves in sheep's clothing.
Really? Exactly how difficult is it for some women out there to actually understand the characteristics that make a good man as opposed to just an attractive man? Because a lot of women will simply date on what they find attractive versus what should be considered for a relationship. And that's the main problem there.
And once again, they can't take accountability. We gotta go back to the female loser epidemic. We have to. These modern women continue to think that, oh, it's not my problem. It's not me that needs to improve. It's all these men. And finally, somebody somewhere is saying, no, wait a minute. Y'all need to start improving as well.
I kind of feel like when you look at a man, you can already tell that they come from a mutated chromosome.
Should I say it?
The way that they physically look, you can already tell that they were a failed experiment at becoming a woman, and so they had no choice to become a man.
Okay, why not? There are some individuals out there that really should not be criticizing what others look like.
Stop saying you want a woman with a low body count and just say that your ego can't risk a woman knowing how terrible you are in bed.
So, men aren't allowed to have reasonable standards when it comes to dating. Is that it? How interesting. It really must be rough for some women to be so absolutely hypocritical. Because I would like to point out that if a woman had said that she would only be with a man who had a low body count, she would not only be praised as a queen, but told that she is doing the right thing by having respect for herself and only wanting to be with someone who also has self-respect. Yet if it's a man that has a reasonable or even a high standard when it comes to dating, they are actually often shamed for it. While women are told to shoot for the moon to have men with the highest salaries and best jobs and the best looks, men are essentially just told that they should be very grateful for what they get.
Why does the average man think that he could fully beat a professional female fighter?
Well, that's because 99.9% of the time, they absolutely can. And I know hearing that is going to upset some out there, but those are probably the same ones that are getting upset that like to avoid things like factual information and basic biology. It's either that or they've been watching way too many action films and actually believe it when the 120-pound female heroine actually manages to defeat the 220-pound male villain using nothing but skill alone. It's either that or they have no concept of reality.
I'm so afraid to have kids because what if, worst case scenario, what if I have a boy?
I would feel very sorry for that child if such a person was to be their potential mother, because unfortunately, this is really a sign of how much the prejudice against men has become almost normalized in our society, and that misandry is such a mainstream part of it, that this is not an uncommon sentiment that has been expressed by many women who despise men. They would rather not have children at all than have a boy.
Sorry, have you ever met a boy, like at any age?
Oh, wait, this is going somewhere, and it's disturbing.
They're all obsessed with jacking off or violent things or violently jacking off.
Well, that was just troubling. However, I would like to take this moment to address those women out there that happen to agree with what that person said. If you are of the opinion that you do not like the way that your child is behaving or that they are doing inappropriate things, in your opinion, do you know whose fault that is? It's not the fault of the child, because they are a child. That would be the fault of the parents or parent who does not teach their child acceptable boundaries and appropriate behaviors. Parents are responsible for raising their children to be responsible adults, but some of you just want to blame it on their gender. It's time to accept some personal responsibility.
They're losers, man. And these are going to be the same type of women that sit up here and say, hey, why isn't a man protecting? Why isn't a man providing? That's literally your job. There was a woman the other day talking about it's literally your job to pay. So pull out your wallet and pay. And the men kind of like looked at each other and they're like, what? And then they went on ahead and paid. And she didn't understand. They went on ahead and paid because in their mind, they're like, do we want confrontation? Do we want to be kicked out tonight? Or do we want to have a good time? I think we'll choose to avoid confrontation, to avoid chaos, to avoid drama, and we'll allow them to talk their nonsense. We'll go ahead and pay it and move around.
If you ever get nervous to talk to a man in public, just remember they're a man.
Yes, a man would in fact be a man. I'm glad so many individuals out there can have a good grasp of the obvious. But why did they say that with what seems like disgust in their voice?
They're men. Even the hot ones, they're still men at the end of the day. They're men. You simply breathing, you're already better than them.
And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, someone had enough internal fortitude to put their prejudice on full display for everyone to see and admit what they really think about men. Unfortunately, though, this is not an uncommon belief system among some women. They actually are of the opinion that they are superior to men by simply existing. Yet, when put on the spot, many of them cannot actually articulate an argument that would actually convince any rational person that they would be correct. But the saddest part about that is that a lot of these women will be the first to claim that they are in fact feminists. But then again, it's not all that uncommon for some individuals to use words without even understanding what they mean. And every single day, I find a new reason to be embarrassed by the actions of some women, because some of them are frankly just looking for reasons to justify their hatred of men.
Thin people, I'm going to try not to cry when I say this to you.
Okay.
Thin people. When you're buying seats for your home, I want you to think of the fattest person you've ever seen.
Thank you.
What? Where is this going?
I want you to think of the fattest, biggest, chunkiest motherfucker you've ever encountered. And I want you to think, if I had them over, would they enjoy this seat? And if the answer is no, I'd like you to skip it.
I'm sorry, what? So those who are not overweight should start decorating and choosing items for their homes based on the idea that someone who is very much overweight could come to their home and they should design it around that person's comfort instead of their own particular taste. Right.
Thin people, your seats aren't working.
No.
And I'm not changing.
No.
I'm not going to lose weight to come over.
No.
You need to get different chairs.
No. Now, to be very clear, I am all for a person feeling comfortable in their own skin and loving themselves for who they are. However, there does come a point when trying to cater to every single group of people on the planet does reach a point of ridiculousness. And telling people how to design their homes so that certain people can be comfortable in them? Yeah, I think we've reached that point.
If your first reaction to hearing men are trash is not all men, not me, you are missing the forest for the trees.
Really? Do explain.
Now, either literally millions of women are lying about their experiences with men for no reason, or it's time to accept that there might be a problem with men.
Well, indeed. There is a problem out there with some men. That is the key word that a lot of individuals like to leave out of this particular conversation, is the word some, because it's so much easier just to generalize everyone than to actually focus on those individuals that are really the problem.
And I know that accepting that there is a problem with men and violence means that if you do care about the state of the world, and if you do care about protecting the women that you say you want to protect, that it might mean you actually have to do something or say something.
And a lot of men, believe it or not, actually do something or say something, but yet they're still just seen as guilty as every other man, because it's all men, right?
Just not being part of the problem doesn't make you part of the solution. So ask yourself, who are you protecting? The Brotherhood? What brotherhood are we talking about? Because based on what I'm seeing from all these masculine influencers, they're ready to kill and eat you at the slightest bit of provocation.
It's almost as if that was an excellent example of the behaviors of some men. Again, they keep leaving out that word.
Men are out here claiming that they want to be protectors of women, but they will not protect women from themselves.
I would almost be willing to bet that someone that I could mention probably considers themselves to be an ardent male feminist. Yet, ironically, I'm not seeing how that's the case, because they're not acting in the way in which a true feminist would be. Because feminism, after all, is about equality and equal treatment and fairness. Yet they're tolerating the unfair treatment of an entire population of people, men, based on the actions of some of those members of that group. Not very feminist-minded, is it?
And that's where the issue is coming from. Men don't have a problem with accountability. Modern women do. Men have to take up the lion's share of accountability all the time. And women just sit up there, not taking any of it. And then want to give the 10% that men say, okay, I'll take 90% of the blame. How about you take 10? Is that all right? Would that be all right? No, you can have all of it.
I have seen people get incredibly angry when they see a body like this on the cover of a magazine.
Gee, I wonder why ever could that be?
I have never seen any outrage like that when a body like this is on the cover of a magazine.
Shocking, isn't it? That there aren't more individuals that are absolutely outraged than a man who is quite apparently in very good physical condition on the cover of a fitness magazine. It's almost like people appreciate truth in advertising, whereas someone doesn't quite understand why people would be upset about someone who is quite obviously overweight on the cover of a magazine with the title beneath it saying, "This is healthy." That would be considered not truth in advertising, because like it or not, being overweight is not considered to be healthy. America is one of the most overweight countries on this planet, and I do understand the importance of body positivity and loving yourself for who you are. But the important thing to remember here is you should love yourself enough to actually take care of your body and to make sure that it is healthy. That is why a lot of individuals are upset.
If you're a woman and you're the breadwinner, why the f is you with the man? Isn't that the whole point of them?
Ooh, now this could be fun. Let's see how many people know the answer to this question. Which particular ism was just demonstrated in that video by the implication that a particular group of people's only purpose in a relationship is to fulfill the duties that have been stereotypically assigned to their particular gender? Still don't know what it is? Well, I'll give you another hint. There are some out there who mistakenly are of the opinion that by virtue of fact that a person happens to be of a particular gender, that they cannot experience that particular ism. It's amazing, isn't it, that some actually believe that. But if the roles were reversed, and this question was asked of men in regards to why they're in a relationship with women that don't cook and clean, the answer would be obvious. So I ask again, which ism was just demonstrated against men?
Most men are deeply unattractive because of Mother Nature and something called the Great Scam.
Oh, goody. Another genetics expert.
The Great Scam was the day that the male of the species convinced the female of the species that it no longer needed to prove itself worthy in order to reproduce and have babies.
Wait a minute. They can't be insinuating that the only thing that a male would have to do to prove himself worthy of reproducing would be to be attractive, right? They can't mean that.
The fact that the men are ugly says otherwise, right? They're not supposed to exist. They're supposed to be cannon fodder to the strong, attractive men who are worthy of having babies.
Oh dear, that really does seem to be what they meant. But unbeknownst to a great many out there, there are more qualities to look for in a potential partner than just what they look like. And our ancestors actually knew that.
They're out here being like, the men don't take care of themselves, that's why they're unattractive. No, you're fucking a 10,000-year-old genetic anomaly. He's not supposed to exist, babe.
It will never cease to amaze me how some individuals can remain so willfully uninformed when there's so much information freely available out there on the internet. But let me just say this. Most individuals are aware that there is more to selecting a partner than just what they look like. But I wonder if individuals like this keep the same energy for unattractive women, or is that another story?
Well, you let them tell it. There ain't no unattractive women. All of them are 10s. So this is a moot point. This question don't even exist. Like this scenario don't even exist because all of the women out there are baddies. Even as a woman said, the average baddies. What is an average baddie?
So all the men from my previous post saying that they have found peace by being alone and they're not trying to date because they just want peace. Are you trying to say that we don't bring peace to your life?
Oh, they didn't try to say anything. They flat out said that they'd rather be by themselves and peaceful than to be with some of the women that are available out there.
I have to disagree.
Of course there would be some women that have to disagree with that statement because they simply cannot bring themselves to believe that many men, especially after seeing what's out there in the dating market, would rather be single, and they're actually happier being so.
I do not think that if a woman that you so desired was available to you, you would choose peace over commitment, sex, good meals with conversation, and things like that. So I'm going to call your bluff.
Some women simply don't get it. Because none of those things that were listed are actually what brings a man peace in a relationship. And if we're being really honest with ourselves, most men can get all of those perks of being in a relationship without actually being in one. So quite frankly, ladies, some of you are going to have to start accepting that men can be happy by themselves. I know that comes as a surprise.
I'm so tired of ugly people acting like attractive people are ugly because they're mean.
Ooh, and what do we have here? Uninformed vanity?
Being attractive is a physical quality.
Correct. However, a person could say that someone being attractive is actually something that's multifaceted.
Yes, it is offensive when unattractive people hit on you as an attractive person.
Only to the self-absorbed, because most intelligent individuals actually understand that a person is going to miss 100% of the shots that they don't take.
Ugly people would never understand that because they've never been hit on.
Really? Now that's some audacity. To think someone would go so far as to believe that whoever they consider to be unattractive obviously would never be considered attractive by anyone else for any other reason.
And every time a hot girl says that, people just come on and you're like, you're ugly. You're an ugly person on the inside. Like, do you think that people approach you based on what's inside?
I think someone needs a little reminder that while it is true that people are often approached based on what they look like, they are often rejected for the type of person that they actually are.
Let's stop moving the goalposts and, like, you can be beautiful and a horrible person. That does not make you ugly. And anyone who says it does is just coping.
Speaks the voice of experience in regards to coping, because for some it's actually easier to be rejected for who they are than not to be approached at all. Imagine that level of vanity.
I just don't think you should be able to start an argument when you're fat and ugly.
Oh dear. So what now? A person has to be attractive to get into an argument with someone? Okay.
Imagine you're having a serious conversation or a serious argument with someone and you're fatter and uglier than them. That's embarrassing.
No, I don't know. There could be worse. A person could be the least intelligent person in the conversation.
I wouldn't be able to take you seriously.
Indeed. Apparently there are a lot of individuals that think this way, or else they wouldn't try to end conversations with insults.
Someone please explain to me why men are so threatened by a woman that is not desperate for a man. Why does it bother you so much?
In answer to someone's question.
I really don't know why. I really don't know why they let these women on the internet. I don't know why. You know, in addition to age verification, maybe they need mental health verification as well.
Most men, in fact, have no desire at all to be in any kind of relationship with a desperate woman, because desperation just reeks of insecurity. And insecurity, in many cases, often leads to toxicity in relationships. And any person, whether it be a man or a woman who is confident and comfortable in themselves, wants to stay as far away from toxic relationships as possible. Although I noticed that someone didn't actually wait for an answer to the question. See this. And one particular phrase there really stuck out because I have been noticing it being used by some women as a way to apparently try to shame men. It's that confident women don't intimidate real men. But I would be curious to hear how many women can actually define what a real man actually is.
For the first time, possibly in history, women are admitting they want daughters, not sons.
Oh, don't worry. This is certainly going somewhere.
Having a son is seen as an extreme burden to women around the world.
Burdens, really? And how is raising a son different than raising a daughter?
You are expected to birth them, educate them, and shield them from conditioning from other boys. All this without acknowledgement.
Oh, so some women want acknowledgement for being a good parent? You would think that just being a good parent would be reward enough in itself.
In fact, that very same son may grow up to take his mother's rights away.
Oh yes, there are a lot of individuals out there that will try to convince some women that they need to be fearful of their own children in the future. But may I be very specific? It's only the boys that they're talking about. They would never mention the girls.
Women globally are reaching a line of contention, refusing to give birth to life that may become a weapon against them, against other women. This is why movements like 4B exist.
Oh, because of ignorance, fear, and bigotry? Got it.
Women are refusing to birth their own oppressors.
See what I mean?
They are liberating themselves from a life of suffering. Sons are no longer the standard. Daughters are.
I wonder how long it's going to be before boy moms start being harassed for having boys. Oh, wait. In case some of you didn't notice, that's already happening.
Do all men think kindness is flirting? Oh my God.
Now I know what I'm about to say is going to be a truly radical idea, and there will be some out there that really do have difficulty wrapping their minds around this concept. But it is still not all men, imagine. However, I will say, in this case, there are some men out there who unfortunately do tend to mistake kindness for flirting. But if a person is wondering how that could possibly be, how could a man mistake simple kindness or politeness or even a compliment for flirting? Well, the reason is actually very simple, if a person just takes a moment to think about it. How often do you think a man, outside of his immediate family, receives any sort of kindness or any kind of compliment at all from a woman who ultimately, well, doesn't want something?
You ready?
How very charming. Although, I guess we should be grateful for videos like these, because they are really giving us a window into the soul, as it were, allowing us to see the true colors of some of these women that have ideas like this, because basically they're letting us know that they don't care about men. They don't see them as people. They're just objects to be used, and when they're done with them, they will simply discard them for the next one. They're doing us all a favor.
Why would I be financially supporting you through college and we're not married? Why would I be doing that? You do understand that you're asking a man to put out at least $100,000. $100,000. Because y'all know y'all strong and independent. Y'all don't need no man. Y'all got to go to the graduate level. Y'all got to get your PhDs. And y'all be, think about this, y'all be out here getting degrees to talk about men. The same men that supported you when you were broke and a bum. No, I'm not putting out that type of money for you.
Men are lonely right now because women no longer need them for survival, but rather they have to be desired and wanted.
Who exactly thinks that all of these men are as lonely as some women seem to need them to be? Because quite frankly, it's becoming a little suspicious that for the most part, the only ones that we hear about talking about this quote-unquote male loneliness epidemic happens to be mainly women. That is a bit fishy. Because from what I have been hearing and seeing, most men, in fact, are not lonely. They might be alone, but that doesn't necessarily make a person lonely. They are, in fact, for the most part, choosing to remain single to avoid the drama and possible toxicity that come with some relationships. And who can blame them after all? But it really seems that some women are really pushing this male loneliness epidemic as almost as if to try to make it true. But just a reminder, repeating something over and over again, doesn't make it one bit more true.
My New Year's wish is to ward off all the brokies, dusties, and bare minimum men.
Well, sure, why not? Everyone's allowed to have their own preferences when it comes to who they decide to date.
In 2026, I need proof of income, at least 2 pay stubs, the LinkedIn profile, and social security number if you're trying to go on a date.
I really hope that they were joking. However, there are quite a lot of women out there that do have the particular preference that they only date men that have a certain level of financial success, which is fine. However, a lot of those women seem to get rather upset when you ask what specific things do they bring to the relationship other than their looks. A lot of them will simply say that they bring themselves and that should be enough. But they're not taking into consideration very successful men often have very specific preferences in regards to the women that they date as well. And a lot of women think that men should just be happy that women are willing to date them until they learn that men also have preferences as well.
Men don't really have a say in who gets picked.
Well, that's just amazing. Amazing that some individuals actually have convinced themselves of that and are trying really hard to convince other women of that. But gentlemen, just in case you didn't hear them the first time, apparently you have no choice in who chooses you to be in a relationship with. You are the real pick-me's.
And they never really did. They had to force it to be that way. So always remember that. At the end of the day, the right type of man will want to be picked.
The worst part about this is there's a lot of individuals that have actually convinced themselves of this type of nonsense. That is because a lot of women out there continue to view themselves as the prize in the relationship, when it couldn't be further from the truth. It is neither the man nor the woman that is the prize in the relationship. It is the relationship itself that is the prize. And until a lot of individuals actually wrap their minds around that concept, many of their relationships are going to continue to fail.
Call me too woke. I don't care.
I think I'll wait and see what they say first.
If I got pregnant and I found out it was a boy, termination, abortion,
Out of there. Immediately.
Misandry comes in many forms, and this particular belief is not all that unpopular. There are actually a lot of women who will refuse to carry a boy to term.
And no, I will not be elaborating or explaining the truth. My choice.
That doesn't surprise me one little bit. After all, it is rather difficult for individuals of that particular mindset to be able to even put into words, let alone a reasonable or rational argument, why exactly they're so prejudiced against an entire group of people, so much that they would not even allow members of that group to even be born. It is very hard to justify that level of bigotry after all. That's probably why they don't try.
It's almost like women that say this should be put on some sort of watch list, some sort of terrorist list, so the FBI can keep a closer eye on them.
What the fuck do you mean you went on a coffee date with a man?
Interesting shaming tactic, calling other women names that happen to be okay with coffee dates. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to change their minds.
Beautiful women do not accept coffee dates. They don't. They know their value. They know what they have to bring to the table.
But what actually do those women bring to the table? A person never actually hears that part explained, because all I'm seeing is an attractive face and a questionable attitude.
You are way too valuable and you are boosting up way too many egos when you go on coffee dates with men.
Some women just don't understand the purpose of dating anymore. And I don't know why they don't just come out and admit it. It's a lot better than trying to hide it, because a lot of the rest of us can see it quite clearly. Because most reasonable people understand that the purpose of dating is to get to know the other person, not to try to see how much money they're willing to spend. Because quite frankly, if that's how a person is treating you before they even get to know you, then that tells you all that you need to know about that person.
One of the most dumb-ass rhetorics I hear from dudes when it comes to dating is how many of them think that women use them for free meals when it comes to dates.
I can't wait to see the look on someone's face when they realize that, yes, there are women out there that do that.
Do y'all genuinely think we are on some poverty line that, like, I can't pay for a fucking dinner?
No, it's not that at all. It just happens to be the case that there are some women out there that tend to act like leeches.
What makes you think I need a free dinner from you?
I don't think they want to hear the reason why a lot of men don't want to take certain types of women out on dates. They're just not ready for it.
It's just like, it's so obviously a cop-out. That's not the reason. That's not the reason you don't want to take women out on dates. It's because you're broke and don't have the facilities to take women on dates, and that's a different story, but don't try and blame it on us.
So some guys don't want to take certain women out on dates. So naturally that's the guy's fault? Are they really thinking this through? I don't think so.
Like, nobody needs your bum-ass free meal, man. Just admit you can't afford it and go. Maybe you're projecting that because you want the free meal.
I don't often quote Shakespeare. However, I feel that this is an opportune moment. Methinks she doth protest too much.
It's just such a slap in the face that you guys think we can't afford this dinner and we need you to pay for it.
Or, most guys don't want to waste their money on a woman who's obviously just going to be a waste of his time. And just how can I be oppressed today? That should have been the title of that video. In fact, I've seen so many of these, they could even make up their own genre. And sadly, a lot of these videos come from individuals in the Western world, where they are actively trying to convince not just themselves, but others that they are genuinely suffering from some sort of oppression. And today, beauty is the tool of oppressors. Really? Is it? Is being privileged a tool of the oppressors? We're really reaching now, aren't we? Because when I have actually asked individuals to tell me how, as a woman, I am currently being oppressed, they're not able to actually give me a valid reason. The most common one is abortion and its limitations in some states. But I'm not oppressed. But there are so many out there that seem to want to be. And I've actually come up with a theory as to the reason why. Because as long as they consider themselves to be oppressed, they won't be held accountable for all of the hateful things that they say about their quote-unquote oppressors.
And at this point, I'm not even sure how are they coming up with this stuff? What are they reading? What movie are they watching to come up with this foolishness? It's literal stupidity. Like, not even how can I be a victim? Not even how can I be oppressed? How can I be even dumber than the person that was dumb yesterday. Or somebody just put out a dumb TikTok. How can I out-dumb them? How can I out-stupid them?
I'm going to say this once and once only. And I don't care who gets offended or triggered.
Ooh, this could be promising.
But if you get triggered, that's good because that means that something is wrong.
Well, get on with it.
Men do not belong in childcare centres, period.
But why? That doesn't really make any sense, especially considering statistically it's usually women that commit the most crimes against children.
Word of advice for you girls. If you have a chance to fuck some guy while you're married, go fuck him. You know what? Beat your fucking husband to the punch. Go fuck that man.
I have an even better idea. If you're the type of person that actually considers that video to be good advice, do the entire world a favor and don't get into a relationship, because you're obviously not emotionally mature enough to be in one.
So a couple of weeks back, I had a conversation about whether or not we should start thinning the herd.
Thinning the herd. Ah yes, the title of that video should give you a clue of what it's about.
And when I say thin the herd, what I mean is we need to start reducing the male population.
Interesting. I wonder how they're planning on going about doing that.
We as women need to start really controlling who is born and who is not.
Let us be very clear. They're referring to women taking control of the entire human population by ensuring that only certain members of particular demographics are actually born. There's a word for that.
Men are okay infringing on your rights by telling you that you cannot have an abortion, that they'd rather save the child than to save the mother. They are okay with having say-so or regard over your body. So me, I feel as a woman, I feel no types of way saying to reduce the male population altogether.
Some individuals are not going to like what I'm about to say, specifically some women, but I am about to be very blunt. If you happen to be worried about giving birth to a boy because you're concerned that he's going to grow up to be a misogynist or someone that's going to take your rights away, well then, all I have to say is that you failed as a parent.
It feels a little fake and gay. I gotta tell you guys, it feels a little fake and gay, and there will be no fakeness and no gayness.
How charming. However, whenever I see this type of post, I always wonder to myself, do the types of women that make these particular styles of posts, do they actually ask any of the men to help them? Or do they just expect the men to help them because they're women and they are men, and that's stereotypically what men are supposed to do in their normal gender role, is help helpless women that can't do things for themselves? Because there are a lot of women out there that really don't seem to actually want to be viewed as independent. They want to be absolutely dependent on men, but yet at the same time will argue that they're equal to men. But I also noticed that they didn't say anything about women helping them with the baggage either. So I wonder if they asked any of the women. But honestly, I really think that this is just another way for some women that have absolutely nothing better to do with their time than to just find some random thing to complain about men for.
Do you know why I say it's all men?
Do tell. How are we going to rationalize generalizing an entire population of people today?
Because the men that are like, it's not all men, they always prove that they're part of the fucking problem.
So some men are showing that they're problematic. What a novel revelation that must be. But most reasonable people actually do understand that there are problematic individuals in every demographic. Although what those individuals do understand that others seem to not is that just because there are some members of the group that act in a certain way that makes the rest of them look bad doesn't mean that it's justifiable to generalize that entire demographic. For instance, there are some women that do not seem to know how to form a rational and logical argument. However, that does not mean it's a justification to say that all women are irrational and overly emotional. See how that works? So if you can't say that you would justify generalizing all women based on the actions of some, why exactly would you justify generalizing all men?
Well, you know, Lady J, what you just did is you thought with balance. You thought with some sort of critical element to your ideas. That's the problem. You're including the critical filter when you should be including the delusional filter, the fantasy land filter, instead of the reality and logic filter. You need to work on that.
I don't think they thought this one through. Because, frankly, it is not the boast that a lot of them seem to think that it is. Because I have seen several different videos, very similar to this one, made by several different types of women, each indicating that they have, in some cases, spent thousands of dollars on their appearance, whether it be on their makeup, their hair, their nails, or in some cases even their clothing. Thousands of dollars to look a certain way. And if you're going to ask most women why they do such things, it's for themselves. Because if we're going to be very honest, most men don't really care how much a woman spends on her appearance as long as she looks presentable. They don't care if her hair cost $1,500 or if she did it herself. But yet we're supposed to be led to believe that they're not going to be then using men after spending such large amounts of money on themselves? Okay.
Valentine's Day's coming up.
Yes, it is. And may I remind a lot of you out there that it's one of the most overly commercialized holidays ever to exist. But go on.
I want to remind you all that if he doesn't do anything for you on Valentine's Day, he hates your guts.
There are some things out there that I am very tired of hearing. The first of those would be some individuals out there being incredibly overly dramatic, as if that somehow makes their argument more valid or compelling. And the second would be the misuse, or rather lack of understanding, of the word hate. Just because someone doesn't buy you a Valentine's Day present doesn't mean that they hate you. My goodness, how far are we going to try to stretch this?
Candy is $5. If he doesn't have $5, there are bigger fish to fry. He shouldn't be dating.
Right. Makes perfect sense after all. Although I'm not exactly sure that I would be taking dating advice from a person who obviously doesn't know the definition of hate, because likely they don't understand the definition of love either.
There is not a single man that actually wants marriage. Yes, I'm making a generalization. No, I don't give a fuck if it hurts your feelings.
No, generalizations don't hurt most people's feelings. However, it does say a lot about the person that makes them.
Without the idea of marriage, men have no value. They have zero value.
Well, isn't that just precious? Trying to equate a person's, or rather, a man's actual value in the world as a human being to how marriageable they are. Just imagine if a man said that about a woman. It would be absolutely pandemonium. But if a woman is being sexist towards all men, then it's perfectly acceptable, and a lot of women will even applaud her for it.
If we got rid of marriage tomorrow, no one would be thinking about men.
I find that highly unlikely, notwithstanding the fact that a lot of women wouldn't have any content at all if they weren't complaining about men constantly. But the world's infrastructure rather does rely on them.
No one would be thinking about them because that is the only thing that they would be able to have for women's interest to be piqued, for women to decide that they want to deal with them.
I find that highly unlikely. In fact, I would actually like to issue a challenge to some of those women out there that say they don't need men and dislike all of them. Try going a week without mentioning men. I bet you can't do it.
And it takes a special person to be this level of ignorant and then say, oh, I'm about to be ignorant, but still listen to me. Still think of me as the expert. You're ignorant. Why would I be listening to you? Well, I'm about to be stupid and I'm about to say some stupid stuff, but I don't care. And modern women be sitting there in the comment section, just listening, just sitting there typing, yes, girl. Oh, you sure right? No, she's not. She's an idiot. What she just said was dumb.
When people say that they hate astrology, I just think that they hate women.
I'm sorry, but was that supposed to make any reasonable amount of sense? Disliking astrology is the equivalent to sexism now? Okay. Now, when I don't hate astrology, I just happen to find it illogical and irrational and not worth any reasonable person's time.
When do something collectively, it's known as a trend or a fad, but when men do something collectively, it becomes culture.
Oh dear, really? They're actually diving into this one, aren't they?
Men who go on dates with men and ask about their star sign are no different to men who go on dates and ask women if they fear God. There's really no difference.
Really?
Men's activities are just dehumanized and ridiculed and mocked under this current society.
When someone runs out of legitimate things to complain about, this is what happens.
And there's just such a trope of like women going on dates and being like, what's your star sign? And being like, oh, like you're not into that shit too, are you? And it just shows their subconscious bias. Like, you just don't value things that women like. Sorry.
Now, most people don't like astrology because it is irrational. Stop trying to make things into something they are not. What is the point of sexism? I mean, is there one? Because it seems to be very popular to be sexist, and that can go for men as well as women. There are a great many people out there who seem to be very proud of putting their ignorance on full display, and in my opinion, being sexist is about as intelligent as being a racist. They are, after all, both based on characteristics that a person has no control over. So I ask all of those out there, what exactly is the point of being a bigot? I mean, what does it accomplish? It certainly isn't doing any good in the world. In fact, it's doing more harm than it would ever be doing good. So my question is, for those that are sexist, as we mainly focus on women who are sexist against men, what is the point of doing so? And a person could ask the same question of men who are sexist against women. What exactly is the point of being sexist?